Would say there were some changes, Chuck.
We'll call this special committee of the whole meeting / budget meeting to order on April 15th, 2024 at 6:23 PM. Is there anybody like to speak under public participation? Nobody in the audience, no public participation this evening. Next item is item number 3, discussion on the annual budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. Treasurer Conzo.
Thank you, Mayor. You've all received copies of the budget, and I've handed out some things that have changed since then. In fact, changed late this afternoon, following some conversations that I had with Superintendent Landers and Superintendent Bounds, primarily to do with the sewer fund. There's also another one that I did not copy, and that has to do with the motor fuel tax fund there, and it has to do with the resurfacing. So there'll be an additional amount included in that as well. And that will be $320,000, which would bring that to $1,509,926. And that, I just, apparently when we were talking about this in the meeting we had with Superintendent Landers, and I think Alderman McClellan and Alderman Sanders were in that meeting, and I was in that meeting, but I think something didn't get communicated the way we thought, and I don't know what happened, but there should have been another $325,000 added into that. I did not make a copy of that page. I kind of ran out of time, but I could give you a copy of that. The others are pretty well self-explanatory, and they have to do with some additional expense in building and grounds, $7,500, and that'll be a separate line, which I understand is for backflow inspection, and I think Superintendent Landers can explain that better than I can.
It's for different services and cost at the street department building, not just the backflow prevention testing, but other things too. Basically repairs and maintenance stuff for the building and the grounds itself.
And then with the sewer fund, you see some changes there as well. Fund balance, we had working off of different documents, but anyway, this is assuming that some of the expenses and things that we had planned for this year will be paid down before the beginning of the year. Revision there to the sewer fees, combined sewer fees. It had been $5 million. It's $4 million now, and it's been corrected on the document as well as being written in there. And then there are some additional expenses that, after talking with Superintendent Bounds, came to increase that total amount from $4,554,407 to $4,876,907. Fortunately, there was also increased revenue based on further conversation that I had with him from $541,760 to $1,841,760. So that more than will offset that. And I think I've already, in your document there, we added some money to, and I didn't hand this out today, but it's in the not in the original document that I sent last week, but the third Friday expense. It's in the document that was included in the agenda packet that the city clerk sent out last week. And it has third Friday increasing from $6,000 to $7,500, and that's on page 14 in the hotel tax. So the only thing in the general fund is that $7,500 that Superintendent Landers just described to you for buildings and grounds. The rest of it are in special funds. Alderman Rolfs, did I answer the
I'm sorry.
you had?
I'm sorry.
Did I answer the questions you had earlier?
I think you answered most of them. I still did have one question, and I'm not saying it's not answered. I didn't see it in here. But
It's possible I didn't answer it, but.
you know, I ran across something today when I was going through that. We talk about buildings and zoning, and then there's another description here for building and grounds. What is the difference between building and zoning and building and grounds?
Well, building and zoning is,
And who's in charge of that?
building and zoning is Mr. Woodhull's in charge of building and zoning, and it's the zoning office. He's the building and zoning officer, and Corey Ingram is his assistant. And Charity works part-time in that office as well as the city clerk's office and the street and alley department. So that's building and zoning. Building and grounds just pertains to physical structures, the buildings that the city owns.
Okay, so whose department does that fall under?
There's no one department.
Now, it's, because it could be, a lot of it is the city hall, fire station building, but it could be, there are things in there too that would apply to the police station and to the Public
Depot.
Works. And
The
the
depot
depot.
as well.
And the depot, thank you. Yeah.
So there isn't technically someone that we have that's over that just,
No, I can tell you that Mr. Woodhull does a lot of the work pertaining to that, but there's nobody that's theoretically, or definitely there's no official designee, but he does a lot of the work for it. And I know the police chief and the fire chief and Superintendent Landers, do a lot of things in their buildings as well to, aid in the maintenance of those and to kind of oversee to make sure things are working properly. The elevator, for example, here, right?
so then does that fall back on Tracy's shoulder? I mean, sorry, the mayor's shoulders?
And the council.
Ultimately, yeah.
But it's,
But it's been that way for years.
the sewer
No, I
plant
just-
is an exception to that. That's
Yeah.
not that fun. But the other city buildings, there are expenses for the others in there. Of course, sometimes it's a fine line too. Say in the police budget, there are things pertaining to communications and things of this sort that would be out of their budget, but wouldn't necessarily, out of their sub-fund within the general fund, but wouldn't necessarily be in the building and grounds fund. Same thing with the other departments.
Okay, and then, could you explain a little bit more, because I know I did ask this question about where, the sewer department, I mean, I know that Veolia,
Veolia.
did I pronounce that right? Is a company that we basically is in charge of the sewer, basically, everything to do with the sewer, right?
We have a contract.
Well, except for the billing, we do the billing.
Except for the billing, correct.
Which is no small job in itself.
No.
but Yes.
So then, does that mean that Veolia does Andrew's contract? And then we just say, okay,
Well,
You mean his salary, or?
are you talking about his salary?
right, yeah.
So we have a contract, and his salary is included as part of that contract, but he doesn't negotiate that salary with us. He negotiates that with Veolia.
Okay, but that, we do nothing as far as negotiations with that or setting up specifics or
Well,
anything?
I mean, we have an opportunity when the contract comes up for renewal to question the contents of that. And that's been practiced the past few times it's been renewed. So the council does vote on that contract.
But they determine the salaries and so forth. But
Yeah.
Now, does that mean the employees also that are at the sewer plant, are they included in that?
Yes, they're Veolia employees.
The equipment is ours,
The equipment is ours, oh, that's good.
for the most part.
The
We need to
equipment, the
keep that
facilities,
equipment.
yeah. So, we contract them to come in, help with the infrastructure, the issues that come up. They occupy the space out there, but in turn, they manage their own expenses internally for employees and benefits and things of that nature.
How many different companies, and I don't know if we know this, I know we've had at least 2, if not 3 different companies that were in charge of the sewer plant, correct?
Been 2 since I've been up here.
There've been 3 since you and I have been, I think. And I don't know how many before.
So are we pretty secure with that company right now? Is that a question we can ask?
You mean, do we feel comfortable with them?
Well, you know, if you look at things and they say you need to feel, do you feel vulnerable about anything when you look at your budget?
Not in regards to Veolia. I think for what we get for that contract, they take very good care of the things that we need them to, and in many cases go above and beyond what's expected. Significant savings as a result of that contract. We realized significant savings during the CSO project. Working with them and CMT, they were able to realize a lot of cost-saving measures and opportunities in that project for us.
I guess that's why I asked, because I do. I think we have, as a council, felt very good about the relationship we've had with them, the relationship that we have with Andrew. And I'm hoping that that is not something that we need to be concerned about, that we're.
I agree.
As long as Andrew's there, I'm not concerned.
Well,
And
Previous
I feel
person
the-
before
Anything could change.
Andrew was easy to work with, but not as city conscience. Andrew has Lincoln's best interest at heart, I truly feel, in every aspect that I work with him. So that's the big plus for me.
Well, and I feel that way too, and I've expressed that to Andrew in the past, but I do think that that's something that is a big part of expenses, and I sure hope that we don't have to worry about it. Can you guarantee that? I'm just kidding, but no.
I mean, we always have to be mindful of our expenses, right? I think Andrew does a good job of presenting CPI increases when they come up, and we talk about that before that's presented, but I feel that we're in a very good relationship with them. I feel that when we have issues that we need to work through, because as you know, we talk about sewer problems and things, we've talked about them, that Mr. Bounds is extremely intelligent. He leads that crew very well, and he works with customers very well. So it's not uncommon for him to go to someone's house and talk with them about their problems. You got to factor kind of everything in that he does and that company does. I feel comfortable based on what I observe on a daily basis with him, but the council always has the opportunity to make changes and adjust as needed.
Well, there's been some sewer problems in my neighborhood too, and I've been working with the people, and I just feel like when I look at the budget and feel like, well, this is out here, but are we feeling pretty secure with that still being there?
I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I know I do. So. Okay. Ms. McClellan. Can you speak into your microphone too, please?
Walk back a little bit about the increase for Mr. Landers. What was that amount again that we don't have written, don't have a paper for? Or?
The salary increase.
No, you just said that there was a change in the
Oh,
budget.
oh,
that-
it's in the motor fuel tax, which is fund number 20, which would be page 10. It's for resurfacing. It's 320,000. I'm going to pay part of that out of the capital projects fund, which is Fund 60, and part of it out of the motor fuel tax fund. Apparently, when we sat down with him, I missed something in the translation when he was explaining it to me, and I did not pick that up. But that should be added in there, and that would, and we talked about this late this afternoon, so that would increase that to $1,509,926 for the total.
What
was that
do you know
amount
what
that we
line
added?
number that is?
I'm sorry,
What was the amount that we added?
320,000.
Okay, and is there are specific things that we have in mind with that money that's,
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's for resurfacing. I'd let Superintendent Landers address that because he's far better at it.
Those were road targets that were brought before the council previously. If you remember the Rebuild Illinois money, and they selected targets that would fit the use of MFT money along with the Rebuild Illinois money. So those targets exceeded what the Rebuild Illinois was. And then the extra 320,000 is to help finish those targets.
so that was, did we change bids changed or just?
No, it should have been included anyways.
Oh, okay.
That was something that we'd already had planned on.
What line item was that?
It doesn't actually have a line yet.
Oh, okay.
We've not paid for resurfacing out of the MFT line since I've been here. So I don't know what Treasurer Conzo was gonna add a line for it or include it in one of the other lines.
We'll probably need to add a line for it, I would expect. So, sorry, Madam City Clerk. I know. Hey, there aren't too many this year, though. Not nearly as many as we did last year. But yes, there'll be a line added for that as well.
Then it's 50-001-3500, the sewer fees combined. And it looks like you had marked out 4 million, but then put.
No, I marked out, well, the original document that went out had 5 million in it.
Okay,
And then I wrote that, I changed it in the Excel sheet and then didn't realize I had already done it and went through and wrote it in again, so that's why.
so it's gonna be 4 million instead of 5
It
million.
is 4 million instead of
4
5
million,
million.
okay. Okay, and could you just walk us through the transfer revenues, how they went from 541?
I'm sorry, under which page, or which fund?
That is page 12, the transfer revenues, loan proceeds, balance forward. And we went from 541,000 to 1,841,000. Just walk us through how that happened.
So Alderman McClellan, I'd be happy to tackle that. So this is what we discussed in our budget meetings. There's absolutely nothing different from the document that I presented you guys with. It was a translation issue between Treasurer Conzo and I. Your sewer fees, I do expect to come in around $4 million for ratepayers here in town. The transfers go up to cover the CIP that will be happening. That's the capital improvement plan. That's the equipment. That transfer is to cover that added expenditure outside of normal revenues. So that will be coming directly from the Sewer Enterprise Fund. All in, I expect the Sewer Enterprise Fund to come in the end of next fiscal year, assuming every single dollar is expended, which we're going to try not to do that, obviously, but between 5.2 and $5.4 million at the end of next fiscal year.
When we were showing it where it's transferred, we show that transfer where it was, the transfer will.
Well,
occur
in here, you wouldn't see that, because Sewer Enterprise Fund is really different than any of the other funds. Where you would see it with where we're transferring it from one fund to the other, but this is from the reserve, if you will, or the fund balance into that, for that purpose of the equipment and repairs. So if you look like at the annual report the monthly report that I gave you, and you look at the balance in the sewer fund, you'll see there like 7,470,000, but there'll be a lot of expenses paid. Remember, I was just saying how we pay a lot of things at the end of the year, so there'll be a lot of things paid out of that fund balance between now and the end of the year. So it's a respectable fund balance. It certainly isn't over the top, what we would like to have. Thank you.
Any other questions for the treasurer? Okay,
You want to put this on the,
go ahead.
do you want to put this on the agenda as it is for the?
As presented.
As for the revisions.
Council okay placing this on the regular agenda as presented? For the next, or the committee of the whole, I'm sorry, right?
No, it'll be a special voting meeting prior to
The same night as the,
prior to the committee of the whole. And there'll be a
council okay with that?
public-
So we're gonna have a special voting meeting the night of the committee of the whole. And that's the 23rd, I believe, correct? Yeah, 3 meetings.
Public
in a-
hearing that,
Public hearing as well. They'll
That shouldn't
go
take-
relatively quick. So treasurer's asking if the council is okay placing this presented budget on the agenda as presented. Okay.
one
Mr. Rolfs?
more thing,
Mr. Rolfs, I believe, has a
sorry, I didn't
question.
see you.
I must drop my mouth, like I'm
That's
gonna say something. So if we go through with the new things. If we have a question, is there still time to ask a question?
Yes.
And I would add, if I may, that there's also time to amend the budget. It can be amended on the floor, just like any other motion that you,
I
anything
think
else.
last year we were gonna, talked about amending it. Somebody said, well, no, we should have done that 2 weeks before. So I just wanna make sure.
No, you can do it up till the end, till the time. It's just like you would with any agenda.
wanna speak? Mr. Hoblet?
The budget can be amended up until its time of passage.
Right.
So if that needs to be adjusted at any point in time, it can be.
Thank you. And then, some of these revisions, again, my apologies for this, it was about 4:15 when we finished talking about that with Superintendent Bounds and Superintendent Landers, so I was not able to have time to send it out to all of you. And if you're like me, you don't read your email every 10 minutes, so you may not have seen it, so that's why I distributed that in paper form.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Gonzo?
No, that's probably enough, isn't it?
Okay. Brings us down to item number 4, announcements. Second round, anybody? Okay. Brings us down to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Everybody want to stay?
So moved.
We're gonna stay.
Alderman Parrott made the motion, Alderman Downs second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The special committee of the whole meeting is adjourned at 6:45 PM.
I have a question.